Hi, everyone, and thanks so much for joining me on this random mini series, Coronatined with a Copywriter. Today, I am joined by the super awesome Stefan Georgi. Is that right?
Yeah.
Boom. Okay, I already was afraid I forgot it. So I'm sure you guys already know who this man is. Probably one of the most legendary copywriters for I guess, my time, my generation. So very honored to have him on to chat with me today. So thanks so much for being here, Stefan.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, man. It's great to be here.
Yeah, cool. So before we dive into some questions, do you mind just giving us a little bit of a bio, I guess, some of the things you've accomplished and what you're, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So I started out as a direct response copywriter in early 2012 because my now wife, at the time, girl I had just met, was a direct response copywriter. And I was going out and working a corporate job I didn't like. And I'd come home and she was like in her pajamas or underwear drinking beer. The story used to always be, and I mean, she's gonna be mad at me, but used to be she was in her underwear, like ripping a bowl, like typing
Yeah,
copy.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then over time, like because of her being annoyed, the story's changed to she was in her pajamas drinking a beer.
Okay.
But yeah, in times of quarantine, might as well just
Yeah,
give the full unedited
real deal.
version. That
Yeah.
way, yeah, I'm stuck in the house for who knows how long. So I might as well try and get her mad at me early in the morning. So
There
that
you
that
go.
just but anyway, so yeah, I was like, man, like let me try doing that. Not necessarily the smoking weed part, but like not, the writing copy. And yeah, I started getting hired on like places like Warrior Forum, which is like a internet marketing forum, or I think it's
Hmm.
still around. And over time, kind of got better, got retainer clients, did some other stuff, started agencies too, but kind of direct response copy was the thread that continued. And you know, through getting lucky, some of the right mentors, things like that, started to kind of gain some good clients. And ultimately, since 2012, my copies grossed over 700 million in revenue. What's kind of cool, I mean, right now I've got the stuff I have is doing over like 10 million a month, not just for me, but for also for clients. And I do
Wow.
that
Yeah.
calculation because for one client alone, I think for them that's doing, I think they're at like three, I think I did the math at like they're at like over 3,000 friends a day, but it was like even at 1,500 friends a day at like I think they're like almost a $200 average order value. So like that, and they're a big client, but it's like
Yeah.
even there, like, I forget. Basically, I did the math, and they were doing like 8.6 million like a month, and that was just from one offer. And then I've written another offer for them that's doing like the same thing. So
Dang.
honestly, it could be like 20 or 30 million. Um, I don't know. I don't have the exact numbers, but the
Oh,
point
that's
is,
all right. Yeah.
and I have my own stuff that's doing well too. So I guess what's
Hmm.
kind of cool is like I've had a good long. I mean, it's not like I've been in this space for forever, but
Hmm.
I continue to like kind of actively write and teach and train. And then I also run a mastermind called Copy Accelerator with Justin Goff, where we have about 100 plus members. It's a combination of business owners and freelance copywriters, and we're teaching and training on how to scale offers and cold traffic through writing copy. And
Hmm.
yeah, so
That's awesome. Yeah, the when you guys just had the event, I had such big event envy. We were away. It was a holiday weekend here, so we were down at like this little, really cool beach winery region, and I'm like enjoying these awesome views, great wine, and then like also kind of like jealous. Throw my Instagram, see what's going on. One thing, I'm curious, what's the dynamic like living with another copywriter? Does that make do you guys just talk about work all the time in that, or do conversations make their ways back to copy or concepts or business ideas?
yeah, we do. We talk about work a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and which is okay because we both love it.
Mm-hmm.
So there are times where if I've been because and I have several other businesses today and do entrepreneurial stuff. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like my days are pretty not like I mean I they never feel like work, but they're long sometimes, and but I may go from 6 a.m. in the morning until 5 or 6 p.m. at night, or even later. But then it's like I'm finally done, but I go to see my wife, and then she's like, "Here's all the shit going on with my business," because
Yeah.
like
Okay.
she has a skincare company, and then it's like I have to then be like, all right, I can't check out mentally because
Yeah.
now I want to help her. But I do the same thing to her all the time,
Okay.
right? Where she's chilling, watching a video on YouTube, and I'm like, this person said that they want to pay this rate, but I think I should be this rate. And, what do you think? Like, and so, yeah, it's pretty constant. It's always been that way. Having a young daughter now, I mean, that there's a little bit
Yeah.
of relief there. So, but really it's just like marketing, entrepreneurship, copywriting, our daughter, and that's about it. Those are like the four
Yeah.
things we talk about. So yeah.
No, that's awesome. Yeah. So my wife has a degree in psychology and works as a counselor. And so it also, I studied communications in uni years ago. And so throughout our whole relationship, it's always been an interesting point because where she'll be like, and then this theory and talking about something from work. And then we're just diving into like the human psyche. And sometimes I think I'm like, you might not actually be able to do this with a lot of other people, but
Right.
because I'm also obsessed with learning about how people work, I'm happy to sit here in this with you. So this was kind of this was an unplanned question for me, but something that you mentioned and that I've noticed is kind of the way that which you prioritize family time and business. That's something as a, aspiring, copywriter entrepreneur, I'm constantly aware of, and I know even to this day, like I've kind of missed out on some opportunities just because I didn't want to ruin things, I guess, in the long run. Did you practice that, or like, how did you did you have to like build in a routine, or what? Sorry, I don't even know exactly. This just hit my head when you're saying that. I'm like, he
Right.
always makes time for his family. Like, how does he do that and run 78 businesses?
Yeah. Yeah. Right now it's like a routine that it's sort of developed. I mean, the big thing for me is like generally at least spending the evenings with my daughter. So
Mm-hmm.
typically like from about 5 to 7:30 is like
Mm-hmm.
family time. So I
Okay.
may be, I may go, obviously right now I'm staying at home because of the,
Mm-hmm.
good old quarantine and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
But even, and then I'm working. So right now it's a little different, but generally like I'll go to my office at 7 in the morning early, work
Mm-hmm.
all day. But then I always like leave by 4:30 or 5. And then, yeah, that window, like I won't schedule calls. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
available. Like, I may respond to like a message if my daughter's like watching Frozen or something. And I can, yeah, I'm not like, it's not like I'm perfect and I hide
Yeah.
my phone.
No, no,
But,
no. Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so that window is really important. And then on the weekends, it's generally just work in the morning. It's one of the reasons why I like waking up so early.
Mm-hmm.
Cause like I love to work and work is very broad for me. Right. But like even just sometimes it's just communicating with people on Facebook is like working. But,
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the reasons I like to wake up at, 5 or 5:30 because my daughter doesn't wake up until like 7:30.
Yeah.
So it's like
Okay.
if I wake up at 5:30, I get like, 2 good hours and then family time. And then she naps from about 12:30 to 2:30. So that's like 2 more hours I can sneak in work.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the point is just that like I still work a lot and during some days of the week, it's like I only see my daughter for a couple hours, but I do try to make sure that, in those couple hours of the day, I am as attentive and focused as possible and not like distracted. Cause I think it's more about the quality versus quantity sometimes. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if I could be around all day, but if I'm just distracted, not actually engaged with her, was that more
Mm-hmm.
valuable than if I took 2 hours where I'm just by her side and we're doing activities together and things like that?
Yeah, okay, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. Sorry, that was a little way off topic, but I
It's
appreciate
okay.
you sharing that. Yeah, I feel like that's probably an area that isn't discussed enough, probably for a lot of people, as they
Yeah.
try to figure out their own balance and rhythm and the hustle, the grind, and then like not compromising on other things, in along the way. But
Right.
having said that, now on to lighter topics, which are copywriting. And
Sure.
so, kind of the goal, as I mentioned, for this interview is to give myself and maybe some other people that watch this the opportunity to find out a bit more about your mindset and perspective. Obviously, you've already created some pretty awesome systems and structures, and so you probably go into that a bit more in depth than some of the other copywriters, but still would like to hear maybe, I don't know, the man behind the marketer, I guess. And so one question I have for you, is there like a particular experience or something that you learned that impacted or shaped the way that you view copy and how you produce it?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, I think there's several. One would be, well, again, meeting my now wife, and that was the first time I learned what copywriting was. So
Yeah, okay.
obviously that was impactful.
Mm-hmm.
And then working with Tryon Saba, and he had a partner named Yifeng,
Okay.
Yifeng,
Mm-hmm.
and basically they were partnered in a survival company at the time, and Tryon still
Okay.
does survival,
Mm-hmm.
but they were really the partners who, or not partners, but clients who had me they really invested the time to make me better. So you'd get gigs from clients before that, but these
Mm-hmm.
guys saw talent in me, which was great. I
Mm.
mean, I remember, and everything was done via Skype because these guys are both from Romania. And I
Okay.
remember trying being like almost verbatim. He's like, you're good, but with my help, you could be great. And I'm like, this
Okay.
cocky guy, what the hell? But then
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it was right. So they'd send me like, controls and be like, study this, like here are our notes on it. Can you see like why this copy's better?
Okay.
Or one of the most influential documents for me may have been the Screaming Eagle newsletter has a document. There was a document about writing curiosity bullets and like fascination. So,
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
which most people know what that is, but for those who
Mm-hmm.
don't, it's kind of what curiosity bullets is a good way to describe it. It's like
Mm-hmm.
bullets that are either get people to want to keep reading or watching like a promo, or if it's about the product, it makes you want to like buy the product to find out the answer. So
Mm-hmm.
why the worst place to hide your guns during a crisis is like a safe. Like
Yeah, okay.
it has nothing to do with a burglar. Like find out why on page 15 or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is. So they would have me, which was from Tony Flores, and then actually Clay and Makepeace, which because Clay and Makepeace obviously just passed away, and I never
Mm-hmm.
even met Clay and Makepeace, but that document was so influential for me.
Yeah, okay.
Um, so yeah, that's actually a really big turning point for me was that stuff, and just being more rigorous with my study of copy, not just sort of like
Mm.
kind of writing stuff, but actually, it sounds dumb, but like really intentionally setting my mind to like not just getting better, but studying what good copy was, and that really started happening in like 2013, I guess, probably.
Okay. No, that makes total sense. So you would say then probably a lot of kind of the power behind what you produce lies more in just like the whole mindset shift of changing how you view copy. Was there like a change in what you saw the overall purpose and goal was?
I mean, I always knew that the purpose was to, for direct response, to get people to respond and
Mm-hmm.
to buy, right? So maybe more so, it was just like understanding like the triggers and patterns and things like that are inherent. Like, almost every good sales letter,
Mm-hmm.
successful piece of sales copy that's like long form, and even actually most short form, is
Okay.
still kind of following the same pattern again and again.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so I think the goal and at that point was more like, I think the best things I do is I don't try to reinvent the wheel. I see a lot
Okay.
of like really good copywriters
Mm-hmm.
who are very inconsistent with their success because they're constantly feeling like they need to create a new thing from scratch. Whereas
Yeah.
I've been like, oh, this template works. Let me just,
Okay.
replicate like a copy of a copy of a copy, but obviously making it
Yeah.
unique.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of realized that around that time, by looking at and studying all these successful kind of
Mm-hmm.
pieces of copy, that's when I really started approaching it that way. So
Yeah.
my goal was to like, my goal wasn't to innovate every time. It was to like,
Okay.
not necessarily imitate, but just basically take what works, like make it unique to whatever thing I was
Mm-hmm.
selling, and which is actually, you write faster, it's less stress, it's easier,
Yeah.
all that kind of
100%.
stuff.
Do you feel like there's a space for innovation within copy? or what's your thoughts on that? Because that like when you said that, I was immediately thought, oh wow, that's huge. Like I think there's a lot of people that are probably trying to like break the mold or do something different or not be like everyone else. But if the certain sales letter like structure works, should there be any innovation? Should there be change to that? Or what are your thoughts?
I think, there can be, but I think there's two things. It's sort of like one is
Mm-hmm.
you have to learn to imitate before you can innovate,
Okay.
right? Just like with
Mm,
art and things like that. So
okay.
for younger copywriters, it's like I don't think they necessarily should be, trying to like innovate right away. It's like kind of like
Mm.
imitate and then, of course, don't copy and paste, but like
Yeah, no,
take
no,
what
no, of
works,
course. Mm-hmm.
right? Apply it. Then as you get better, yeah, I think you can innovate a little bit, but I think generally, depending on who, if it's for a client, especially, like I would do the innovation as a second version or a
Okay.
variant that can be split test because
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, the client's paying you for results. Your job is to get results,
Yeah.
and results means getting people to like engage with the copy, connect with the copy, and then take an action, whether that's
Mm-hmm.
to sign up for an email list or buy a product or get on, make a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like we have this template that works every single time, and
Mm-hmm.
you're being paid to basically follow that template. So it's like you're not being paid to be like an artist and a genius. I'm sorry, like it sucks, right? Because like a lot of people
Yeah.
who are
No, no,
attracted
no,
to
100%. Yeah.
copy are like very creative types, and I'm a creative type as well.
Yeah.
But so I think, yeah, but I think within that being said, like if you want to do that and then give your client another version where you go outside the
Mm-hmm.
box, I think that's totally fine. And sometimes you just, it's like there's more extremes of that side. You may hit like a total home run, but there's a way higher chance that you're totally going to bomb too. And so I
Yeah.
don't really want to take that chance with my client and not get hired again or things of that nature. I'd rather,
Hmm.
give them something that I know is going to work, and then we can experiment afterwards.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. That's really good. No, no, that makes sense. Oh, it's funny. I worked in a call center right out of college, 2 bachelor's degrees, call center life. That's what I was qualified to do.
Yeah, me too, actually. We can talk about that. Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, and then so when I reached a point to where my wife and I were just done, and I was looking online. I didn't even know what copywriting was at that point. I had a comms degree, still didn't know what copywriting was. Nah, another story. But I like at that time, my mindset was like, if I can make $10 an hour from my computer, it will be better than this.
Yeah.
And like, that's where I was. And so I feel like that's been kind of a mentality that's helped a lot more because like, yeah, especially as like the creative type. I had a mentor. He's like, you can either be, what did he say? He said you can either be creative or successful, I think is what he told me, or so, and to some degree, he's just like, yeah, the best copywriters, marketers, or business people, or have like a business perspective, not just like a creative, like see it as art, basically.
There's two things I want to say based on that, which one
Yeah.
is because you can still be creative and an artist like within like the lines or within the boundary,
Mm-hmm.
right? So for
Okay.
example, if you're like the templates like tease an emotional story
Mm-hmm.
about a rock bottom moment that led to the discovery of this great solution, and like you're doing that in the lead, there's
Mm-hmm.
still are lines of like brilliant kind of engaging copy that are entertaining and
Mm.
fun. I mean, you get to be an artist and
Yeah.
creative like within those boundaries. So it's like it doesn't mean the joy has to go away. And in fact, I think the best copy that you write that converts the best is usually going to be when you're having fun, laughing to yourself, and
Mm.
feeling joy
Okay.
as you write. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one important thing to note for people because it's not like an either or. It's like
Yeah,
either
yeah, yeah. I agree.
so there's that. And then, but the other side to it, thinking back to like the call center, because I now own a call center with like,
Mm-hmm.
I guess like, I don't know, over 70 agents. And
Wow. Okay.
we
Mm-hmm.
do one thing and we used to be like unscripted. And then we started doing basically welcome calls, which are calls where the agents call out like to new customers. So somebody buys a product,
Mm-hmm.
like our agents call that person and like, hey, do you have any questions about the product? And then by the way, you could add on this product, and this product.
Yeah.
And it's pretty, it's like, it's very scripted, but again, we started doing this only a couple of months ago, like 2 months ago. And well, it's been so fascinating because what you found even for our first class of like 5 hires was the ones who succeeded were the ones who followed the script, right? And if they followed the script, they could be pretty shitty at it, but they would still make sales, and they would sell like $582 worth of like, whatever vitamins or supplements to like somebody. And you're like, wow. But the ones who complained about the script and were trying to go off script all the time, right? Those are the ones who didn't succeed. But then over time, the ones who are most successful now have modified the script, they've tweaked the script, they made little changes. So I guess it's just a good microcosm or example of how it's like starting with the script, like it produces those reliable results. And then over time, you just become more of an artist and innovate and things like that. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. No, that makes sense. And I remember, it's been cool. Like I'm on your email list, obviously, and you share quite a bit of all the things that you're learning through the call center. And so it's been pretty cool to see how many things that you're seeing play out real life that are applicable in other areas of marketing and copy.
Super interesting.
Yeah. And for me, I've always I think it's awesome. And it's crazy because I look back and I realized I learned actually a lot of things just being a call center agent, because you just talk with people all the time. And so you're engaging with them. But I also think in copy, when I'm doing copy, I'm grateful for, like you're saying, working within the lines feels like unlimited freedom in comparison to like the other jobs I've had in life, I guess. So.
Yeah. And most call center jobs like suck. Like, I think I'm proud of our call center because really like, people don't quit. Like they like,
oh, that's awesome.
It's a good environment. The guys doing outbound we have tons of people making between 70 and 120, 130,000 a year on the phones, versus like when I was in call center environment and it was like 200 plus calls a day on like a fucking auto dialer. People you called yesterday and you called them twice yesterday and the day before, and they're like, I don't want to buy this. And your manager's like, you called them again. And you're like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why? Like, they're not, like, this is a terrible fit.
It's not lead. Yeah, okay.
I'm like, so I think we're a little different, but
that's awesome.
Most call centers suck though. I mean, I hate it.
I made like $24,000 or something around there. One time we had the company I worked for made a mistake and couldn't refuse to admit it. So then we had all these people calling in and they're just like, do what you can. And so just like having to, anyways. So another thing that made me think, you and Justin did some copy breakdowns a couple months ago which were really awesome. And one thing that stood out to me that I'm also trying to learn, I guess, is obviously we know that stories are very important, but everyone kind of has their own perspective on not everyone, but there's differing opinions on what makes a good story based off of the level of someone's proficiency. So how does one learn the difference between like an story and like an actual, a story that's actually going to be powerful and persuasive in the context of the copy?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And it's I don't have a perfect answer. One thing I think about is, with, I mean, Chris Haddad talks about like the pig story, which is punch in the gut, right? And generally that's a good way to look at it, is like, does it feel like a punch in the gut? Generally in his side, it's like emotional and like a negative punch in the gut. But even if it's like an uplifting story, but even then, are you like, does it hit you deep? Is there like a guttural kind of response to the story, right? Okay. And I think that's really one of the most important things. And then the other thing is like, no matter how good the story is, like you have to relate it back to the reader. Because the biggest thing I see, the biggest mistake I see, and I look at, over 100 pieces of copy a month because of my mastermind where we do copy feedback and reviews, is writers will come in and they'll like the idea of emotional storytelling, which they should. It's a really powerful method, but the thing they get wrong is they're like, they start telling the person's story, the spokesperson's story, but then you're, you know, hundreds of words in and they're still telling the story and how crappy it was. And it's like, if I'm I'm like, why am I just reading about this guy just bitching about his life? Right? Like, why do I don't care. Like, screw this guy. Like, you know, sucks for him, but I've got my own problems, buddy. But if you can do that same story, but if you're just stopping and being like, maybe you can relate. Have you ever felt that way? Like, does this sound familiar to you? Like, I don't know about you, but this is how I felt. Like, just like those little things relating the story back to the reader. It's like the complete difference between a make or break, like kind of difference between a story not working and a story working. So it's really important.
And so would you say that relatability is more important than kind of the direness, I guess, of the story? So I see like a common thread is to kind of show or use worst case scenarios type things. Where do you think that obviously people relate to that in like a fear-based way, but do you think it's more effective to use something that actually resonates kind of with the common man, like in the day-to-day?
Yeah, it really depends. It depends on the market. Like the sensational stories do work because at the end of the day, like people want to be like entertained, and especially you know, for the older demographic. So like when I used to, for my one health supplement company in 2015, I launched it in 2015, and then early on I would get on. I realized that basically all these people were calling on the weekends, but I didn't have customer support during the weekends. So I went into my office and basically did the calls, right? I started answering calls and talking to customers. But what was really and I was using very like sensational stories, and what the people would tell me, and this is primarily the older demographic, they'd be like, you know, like, I don't really believe like, you know, half of the story, but it was just really entertaining. And at the end of the day, I have this problem, and so I want to try the product. Right?
Wow.
Because you kind of think like that, like you're almost like you can become cynical or jaded and be like, how are people, you know, they're just like, why are they being so sucked into the story? And it wasn't like a totally made up story, but it was just sort of like a lot of questions like, you know, this is religious. So like, you know, is like the secret to like blood sugar, balancing your blood sugar on the pages of the Bible and blah. And it's like, you know, it's a bunch of like kind of unique stuff. But you're sort of like, it's kind of crazy that everyone's taking this at face value. But then you talk to all these people and they're like, oh, I'm totally not. They're like, I'm not taking this at face value at all. Like, but you know, the product sounds like a good product, and I have this problem. So that was a very interesting insight to me. That being said, to your question, no, I don't think you have to go with like the most sensational worst case scenario. I think what you do need, and I think familiarity works really well. So as my copy has evolved to this point, where I'm at today, and I work with a lot more, let's say that I was more like black hat back in 2013, 14, 15, meaning very aggressive claims and big stories and things like that, and trying to pay my bills to like, versus today, you know, working more with like brands and companies that are trying to like, you know, make more of a lasting impact and be around for a long time. And
they want returning customers.
Exactly. Right. And so there's an evolution from, you know, who I've worked with and my own moral stance on things. Cause I mean, I'm just being completely honest, when you're starting out, some people don't, but I was like, kind of like, all right, like, I'm not gonna say like, you know, this is a miracle cancer cure or anything like that. But like, I was willing to be like, you know, much more like, just dramatic and whatever. But today what I've realized is like through research, it's like you find these great stories where, like, what's a good example of one? Well, like just like the idea of like for keto and going through weight loss forums, and you know, you find out that like basically all of these people on these forums, like for keto, love Goodwill, and they love going like to thrift shops and shopping there, because they have the problem of how like if they're losing weight a bunch, then if they buy new clothes at a department store, then it becomes really expensive right away. So they love to go shopping, but they shop at these thrift stores, and then that way, you know, it's not as expensive. And then like, you know, I wrote a whole promo around like basically a story of a woman shared about how her and her husband like had gotten in a fight because she couldn't stop shopping, but she was like, you know, but I'm it's so cheap, I'm saving money, and like, and that, well, you know, even at that work, it's not like a crazy dramatic story of like, and then he like slapped me and I punched him and like we devolved into horrible
Yeah.
domestic abuse. It's like, just like, but it resonates with the market. They're like, oh yeah, I can totally relate to
Well,
that.
yeah,
And so yeah, so it can be just, I think just relatable, as long as it's truly relatable. That I think that
that's
works
really
as
the
well
power.
as
Okay.
the punch in the gut stuff.
Yeah. She wasn't like, I woke up that morning nervous to talk to my husband because I had bought 50 pairs of clothes yesterday and I didn't know if our marriage was going to last,
Yeah. Yeah. Or I might even tease like, it's like how this saved my marriage, but then it's more tongue in cheek about it.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
honestly,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he was I was like, yeah, I don't know, just like I'm like, he was so upset. I was like, kind of like wondering about if our marriage would be okay, but of course it was fine and blah blah blah. Like it's
yeah.
sort of like that more. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Okay, cool. Yeah, just trying to, I think the, I guess developing your BS meter is a fine art, and trying to figure out. And I guess it's kind of like always a little bit of a pendulum where you go from like, no, this doesn't work. No, this doesn't work, and trying to hone that. And so thanks for sharing a little bit and providing some clarity. It made me think about when you were talking, I think, was it you that were talking about for one product that was a video camera for your home that people use
oh
it to
yeah,
look at dogs, and that's
yeah,
like they weren't even that wasn't even a main pain. Like the fear of like a burglar wasn't even a major pain point. It was the positive like ability to be able to check in on their dogs.
yeah, yeah, totally. And I mean, that's where doing your research before you start writing copy is so important, because you just
Hmm.
find all these interesting things that if you assume, then most people assume like they're like, oh, I know, camera for security. I'll make up a
Yeah,
story about like a robber coming in, and it's like there's always like a reference to like the wife being raped. It's like really horrible, right? It's like people always just take it to
yeah,
this crazy, dark, awful place right away. But
yeah,
if you look at all the reviews, people are like you said, like, I love watching my pups play while I'm gone. And it's
yeah,
like that's why they're buying the camera. Like they're not worried about like that's not there's a very small percentage of them that are worried about these horrible things happening. Like they actually just want to watch their pets while they're at work.
yeah.
So that's where doing research is so vital.
Yeah, I mean that's how our old neighbors. They're like they use their thing to check if the cleaner was actually there for a good amount of time and to check on their dogs.
Yeah.
They're like the cleaner came one time for only 10 minutes. That was concerned, like they're
Right.
not concerned about. They got their window smashed in their car one night. They're like, nah, I'm not even checking that. They're just concerned about if the cleaner is giving adequate time and if their pups are okay. Well, that's really cool. And then I don't want to take too much more of your time, but I think it'd be kind of fun to find out what's a marketing trend or tactic that you absolutely hate and wish would die.
Oh man. Shit. I mean, there's probably a lot. I mean, on one hand, like I sort of like I am like I have my own moral compass, but I'm sort of agnostic as far as like whatever people want to do, like
Yeah. Okay. Hmm.
technique wise. Like I don't really like judge or get on a high horse about stuff. Um, it's funny. I actually don't have like a really, really. Tell me one of yours, and let me think about if I have one.
Oh, oh my goodness. Um, well, this is probably going to put me in a bad space. I'm pretty tired of everyone's obsession with value
Hmm.
right now.
Yeah.
It's just growing really old and it's just getting more and more ambiguous with every
Right.
day. They're like and value, and I'm just like, what do you mean by that? Like,
Right.
and so I guess there's just I worked in ecom email for a long time, so there was a lot of just like spammy crap that was really cool back like 3 to 5 years ago in the ecom store bus, like when it kind of all were take the drop shipping stores were taking off. Thankfully, I think that's kind of dying off. But my
Yeah.
biggest gripe really is just how many buzzwords have like not only been overused, but they're like really ambiguous and not actually helpful to people because they're not being explained in a way that's relevant. so that we
Yeah.
can use them.
That makes sense. And actually, me turning the question on you, it did give me two. I have two
Oh,
that
yeah.
I've thought
Okay.
about.
That's awesome.
I mean, one is like a very topical one of just like all these emails from big companies about COVID-19 and their response. I mean, it's getting crazy. Like I kind of get it, right? And certain ones, like even like the ones from airlines or like if you take the train or restaurants, but then it's like, I got one from like Namecheap, like domain, like where it's like, what we're doing. And it's like, oh, thank God, like the people who sell me like discount domain names are really taking COVID-19 seriously. Like, oh, I feel so much better. And now I guess I'll keep buying domains.
I can sleep tonight. Thank goodness.
Yeah. It's like, so, irrelevant. So that one I don't like, but I don't know that I want to die because it does work is like the from names. Okay. So like being like, from Stefan's wallet, like, or like from like oranges. And, but honestly, I've seen the data, they totally work. I mean, it's so, it kind of annoys me, but they work, I mean, dramatically better than not doing it. But it still just annoys the shit out of me. So all these emails like from cottage cheese size, like, you're like, okay, like great. So like, I don't know.
Who is this person?
Yeah. It's like, so I don't know about that, but, I don't want it to die if it's working and making people money and they're selling good products. And I mean, God bless them, but yeah, it's annoying.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's hilarious. And I mean, yeah, I guess if you either shipped it up or not, but well, cool. Yeah. Honestly, we've already covered a ton and I don't really want to take any more of your time up. So thank you so much for giving us a little bit and allowing me the opportunity to connect with you and hear from you. Real quick, if you want to mention any of the things kind of you got in the pipeline or any ways that people can connect with you, I'd love for you to do that right now.
Cool. Appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, just, obviously you can connect with me on Facebook. It's probably facebook.com/Stefan Georgi or Stefan Paul Georgi, or just search my name. But my website, www.stefanpaulgeorgi.com, STEF as in Frank, AN, Paul, GEORGI.com. And then from there, you can subscribe to my email list. I send out a daily email, which, as you know, typically they're between 500 and 2,000 words, the emails, so they're pretty lengthy, but I really try to provide a lot of value there.
Oh, there is,
Hashtag. Yeah. Oh, and then if you're into copy and you're not in the Justin and Stefan Talk Copy Facebook group, then you should definitely join that as well. So.
Cool. Well, awesome. Well, I hope you have a fantastic day and stay safe and healthy, and may your toilet paper never run out.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And I hope you have a great evening. I appreciate you calling me from the future, right?
Oh, yeah. It is. We're
indeed.
Just shy. It'll be Friday here in just a little bit. So, well, thanks so much. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to make a dumb joke about if anything crazy happens today, make sure to let me know in advance.
If I could send you lotto numbers, man, that's what I would really do.
Perfect.
I just think I could
really
paycheck anyways. Cool. Well, we're just going to keep on going. So I'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Thanks again. And thank you to everyone who decided to watch this. I hope you have a great one.